Thank you for having me.
Totally. Yeah. So our podcast is all about your journey in music and how you got to where you are now.
Wonderful.
Whereabouts are you in the world?
I'm a little bit outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
Very cool. Are you originally from there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, I've I've been living in the Boston suburb for, I guess, almost 20 years.
Wow.
And I was originally lived the very beginning of my life in the city, but then moved outside. Um, it's great. The area that I live in is fairly rural, feeling, at least as these types of places go. And definitely just sort of growing up here has been a big creative inspiration for me.
That's amazing. And how did you get into music?
Well, I got into music through my family. So my mom is a really great she calls herself an amateur folk musician.
Cool.
And then my dad is very into guitar. So there's just kind of always music going on.
Wow. And is that where you went to guitar? Was that the first instrument you learned to play?
I really don't play guitar. I can play open chords.
Oh, okay. What do you play an instrument?
None well enough to claim them. I spent a while at piano.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not really an instrumentalist.
Did you ever go to, like you said, your mom's an amateur folk musician? Did she play around the Boston area, and were you able, like, did you ever see her perform?
No, she really doesn't perform very much. Sometimes in our town, she'll perform harmonica. I know when I was much younger, she was in a choir, but I don't think I ever went to go see her in the choir.
Oh, okay.
But she plays a lot sort of at home with our family, with their friends and stuff.
That's awesome. Very cool. And then, so how'd you get into songwriting?
Well, I guess I started writing songs. I started composing little melodies like when I was, 9 or 10. And I first started writing songs with lyrics in middle school. I had a couple friends who were very into musical theater. And I was really into writing, and they were like, oh, we should write a musical. And I think we wrote like half a song. And then, I had a little band with some of my friends, I think in 8th grade. And we played a few songs that I had written. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, I really do like writing songs, lyrics and stuff.
Yeah. Did you continue? I mean, obviously you continued with that. Did you start another band or start doing stuff on your own?
I really just started doing stuff on my own. I would partner with people to kind of like one-on-one collaborations with people in high school. But I wasn't in, I was in a like cover group in high school, like a little vocal jazz cover thing for my school, and it was great, but none of my songs that I wrote or anything.
What songs did you guys cover? It was with the school?
Yeah, gosh, I don't even remember. It was a while ago now.
Oh, okay.
But it was a lot of fun, but it was sort of like an after school activity more than like my band,
Got it. Yeah, sure. Okay. And then you started writing, obviously have your own songs. Were you performing at all, like around your hometown area?
I've done some open mic nights. I've done some stuff through school, and a few little like house shows and stuff like that. That's sort of where my performing started and ended, and then the pandemic hit. So
sure.
So what opportunities I might have had to continue that are not
obviously
present currently.
As it sits right now on pause.
Yeah.
What was the first song that you like wrote and put out in the world?
My first, gosh, like I have a SoundCloud where I have a ton of demos of stuff I did in high school and a musical I wrote in high school and stuff like that, but or composed for. I didn't write the text. But the first song that I really released and like got up on streaming sites, etc. Okay, so technically it was Doomsday, and I took it down after like 5 days.
Oh, really? Why did you do that?
I was hoping to release a music video with it that didn't end up being done in time.
Okay.
And I didn't realize I could get the company to take it down. And then as soon as I realized I could get the company to take it down, I did. And then I released All I Want for Christmas is Emotional Stability, put out the music video at the same time. So that was the first one that I like put on, you know, all platforms and stayed on all platforms.
Okay.
Pretty atypical, I guess, to start with a Christmas song.
That's awesome. But how soon? When did you do that? Was that like last year or recently?
That was almost, I guess, a little bit over a full year ago.
Okay, right on. When you re-released Doomsday though, with the video, was that the first song you've ever shot a music video for?
The Christmas well, the Christmas one, I guess I released first, but I shot second. So yeah, I guess Doomsday would be the first one of my songs that I ever shot a music video for. I made a bunch of Marina and the Diamonds music video, like band videos in high school.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't think I ever released, never put up anywhere, but those were my first venture into making music videos and directing them.
With your own song, tell me about that experience.
It was a very nutty experience. I don't know what I was expecting. Doomsday was super atypical in a lot of ways because we didn't make a music video. We essentially made a movie trailer that was sort of like doubling as a music video. And so it was, and of course it was doubly strange because, right, it's not typical to have a movie trailer for a music video, but on top of that, people usually don't just film movie trailers. Like they film the movie and then they make the trailer out of the movie.
Right, out of the footage from the
and we were just filming the trailer. And so that was a very strange experience. There was a lot of trial and error that went into it, but I'm proud of how it came out in the end.
Yeah. Were you directing it or did you have a crew of people? Like, how'd you guys put it together?
I co-directed it. And we did have a crew. We had, gosh, it varied in size based on the day. We found a lot of people who were willing, a lot of other students who were willing to kind of help out. So yeah, we definitely did it with a larger crew.
That's cool. That's cool. And then it came out, you were able to then re-release it with the video or with the song on the streaming services, correct?
Yeah. So actually, I had this whole plan to release Doomsday in the spring, and we were working in a school-related building to do the editing work, and my co-director, who was also editing with me, is not from Boston, so but was living in the Boston area. And then all the COVID stuff happened, and we were like, oh, we have to get this done, partially because we have to get it off these computers and leave. We both had to move off campus.
Right.
And so we released Doomsday. I think I put it online like the day after we had moved out.
Wow. So that was like right as everything was shutting down.
We were like finishing this music video as the world was like ending.
Oh my gosh.
Around us.
Yeah.
And obviously students are going crazy because none of us have ever experienced anything like this before.
Right. So how did, like, tell me about that. Like you were in college, you're out of college, you go to college still?
Yeah.
Okay.
And people were all talking about it. It was like surreal. Like I remember in January, people talking about it being like, no, we don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Like, right. I think it was January, or maybe it was like early February. People were like, oh, we don't think it's going to be that big deal. Like whatever, you know, it's there have been disease scares over our lifetimes that have not seemed to affect us personally. And so it wasn't that we didn't think it would be a big deal that this existed, but just that we figured it wouldn't cause as much pandemonium as people were expecting. And then it just started happening. We were like, oh no, this is going to be pretty big. And then I remember sitting in my friend's room, just talking about whether or not we thought we would be coming back to campus after spring break. And she was like, oh yeah, totally. And then I think it was Amherst sent their entire student body home. And my other friend called me and he was like, we're like, Harvard's going to send us home tomorrow. Like, we're going to go home tomorrow. And I was like, oh, well, I don't think so. Like, it'll be fine. And then the next morning I woke up and I had an email in my inbox that was like, goodbye. And I was like, all right. And I had breakfast plans with my sister. So I went and got breakfast with my sister. And then I was like, guess I really do need to finish this music video.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So yeah, you just get an email telling you, all right, you've got to did you have to get all your stuff out? Like, we're closing down. Like, how did that work?
We had in theory, most of a week, I think. But the problem was that because it coincided with spring break, a lot of people had booked their flights, which would, for people who were going home, that was going to be their flight home. So a lot of people just had like a day and a half,
right,
2
to
days
just get everything to
get
so
everything
they could fly
out.
home. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Well, tell me about this EP you released. Don't Mind Me.
Yeah, it was it was experimentation was what this EP was.
Okay. Well, why do you say that?
Well, I wished over the process of making it that I had some kind of cohesive vision for it. But in reality, it was just like, what songs do I think vaguely go together and would be something I want to play around with or want to work on in this in recording right now. And so I picked 5 songs and they were all pretty different. And I was like, great, after a certain point, there's not really any use in trying to make them all super similar. So I was just like, I'm just going to try to do what feels right, with each one of these songs, and they're all going to come out how they're going to come out. And we're just going to see what happens and which ones people like and are interested in, and just let it do its thing.
Right. Well, it's doing its thing. It's doing really well as far as I'm looking at the Spotify numbers. That's awesome. And as far as promoting it, like, how do you do live stream stuff? Like, how do you feel about that?
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so bad at promoting myself. And I need to get better at it. I've been so busy with just sort of like, life. I think honestly, and I do a bunch of sort of projects in various areas, but on top of that, I think just like the pandemic makes everything more exhausting somehow. Like, when I would normally have the energy to juggle various things, sometimes I wake up and I'm just like, today I can do like one major thing and then I'll be exhausted for the rest of the day.
Sure.
So I haven't been great about that, but I did do some live streams, and I am going to be putting some of my videos up on IGTV soon. I think is probably going to be the move. Really, I've been trying to do video-based things, so the music videos, because I'm already a filmmaker. I'm already interested in making music videos, but it just happened to be the perfect time to focus on that because there's really no reason to focus on live performance right now.
Right, totally.
So I put basically a lot of my effort went into these past 3 music videos, and so that was big. And now I'm just trying to sort of have a better online presence in general.
Yeah, now that everything's out.
Get people to be aware that I exist, is the first step to getting them to listen to my music.
Yeah, I love it. I listened to the whole EP earlier today. Your voice, like, it reminds me of like kind of like Macy Gray, Amy Winehouse, like tone.
Oh, interesting.
Wise. Yeah, but the music doesn't. But in the melodies and it's just like sometimes your vocal will go that way, and I'm like, oh, that's rad. what would you say like your influences are on that album?
Gosh, I mean, the big influences that I always list are, you know, Marina and the Diamonds, Tash Sultana, the Violent
Oh
Femmes.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
I love. I like for a while I was like, this is like if Marina the Diamonds, like early Marina and the Diamonds, I guess she goes by Marina now, but sort of her earliest release, Family Jewels, and the Violent Femmes like had a baby. I feel like this is something that could happen from that. But I also, you know, I'm a big Grimes fan, but I also have draw a lot from sort of music that I grew up listening to, folk music, liturgical music. I love hard rock and heavy metal. Appetite for Destruction is my favorite album.
Really?
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses record?
favorite album.
Have you ever seen them live?
My dad took me for my 19th birthday to go on a tour, and I had so much fun. I loved it. It was.
Did you get to see the tour when they reunited, like with Slash and everybody?
Yeah. That's what I saw, and I was just like, I was so happy.
Was it just
so
like, yeah, that's obviously, would you say that's the best show you've ever seen?
It was definitely one of them. Well, it was also, you know, I always have sort of, you don't know what to expect from a band that has been around a really long, a fair amount of time, but secondly,
really long time.
but secondly, disbanded and then come back together. I feel like that can go multiple ways. Sometimes it works and sometimes it really doesn't, or it doesn't seem like the energy's there or whatever. But it was definitely very, I mean, it was the energy was great. It just seemed, they played great. I had so much fun. Everyone was really, it was also like, sometimes you go to a concert and it's very much like, which I guess isn't really their fan base, but sometimes I've seen artists, maybe especially older artists, and it feels like a spectator crowd, like people are just sort of like looking at it, and that was not, yeah, exactly, which is not really, wouldn't be the right feeling for Guns N' Roses, and was not the feeling that the audience brought. So I loved it.
That's so cool. Very cool. I was going to ask you, my last question is if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Well, you know, I always like, I feel like this is important, but I also feel like it's extremely cliche. So I'm not sure how helpful it is, but thinking about it a lot myself has helped me. And so I always sort of suggest this, which is, people say, you know, like find your own voice, like find your own sound. You want to sound like you don't want to sound like anybody else. But I think that part of that is kind of embracing how it is that you sound. Like there are lots of artists that I love and admire that maybe I could mimic or something, but I don't really just naturally sound like, and that's totally fine. Like I don't need to sound like them in order to appreciate their music or think they're really skilled musicians. And it's not about being as good as or sounding as smooth as or whatever some artist that you like. You know, if that's not what your voice is, don't try to force it to be that. Try to just like embrace what it is already. Obviously, you know, practice and you'll get better and all that kind of thing, but you just are gonna have what you sound like, and that's cool. Bring me back